Welcome to the News9 Plus Show on the world's first news and current affairs OTT platform, News9 Plus. 22nd of January 2024 is not a date written on a calendar. This is the origin of a new era. Prime Minister Modi said these words today as he led the Prana Prathishta ceremonies of the idol of Lord Rama in Ayodhya. Now, why is this a date with history? Joining me to discuss this are Sadhvi Pragya, Hindu Dharam Guru, Neena Rai, author of the Amazing Ayodhya, and my colleague Kartikeya Sharma. Welcome to the News9 Plus Show. I want to start by asking Neena, the author of Amazing Ayodhya. Neena, what is the significance of the event that we witnessed today? Why did the Prime Minister say this was the start of a new era?
So, if you remember your history correctly, the first Diwali comes when Sri Ram comes to Ayodhya after only 14 years of Vanvas. This Diwali is after 500 years of Vanvas and 500 years of non-stop struggle by people who neither forgot nor forgave.
Right.
This is why this is supposed to be such a grand Diwali. And this is why this is the dawn of a new era. This is a dawn of a new Hindu, a new culture, a new pride in the masses of this country. This is the main important part of it.
Right. Sadhvi ji, I want to ask you, इस दिन का क्या महत्व है और why should we celebrate this as another Diwali, as Neena just mentioned?
संदीप जी, आपने तो बहुत ही अच्छा पूछा है. So first of all, my heartfelt wishes for profound joy and divine blessings on this occasion of Lord Ram's homecoming, because this was the day we all were eagerly waiting for. So I wish happy Diwali to everybody. Happy Ram Diwali, I would say, because it holds spiritual significance all of our lives. You know, to all my fellow Indians across the globe who are immersed in the profound significance of this day, celebrating the return of Lord Ram. So happy Ram Diwali to everyone. Now, why do we celebrate this as Diwali, as asked by you?
Yes.
See, today, India has scripted a new history. The anticipation for the Ram Mandir was not just felt by the people of India, but by every devotee of Lord Ram worldwide.
Right.
One thing we often forget to mention is Lord Sri Ram's own anticipation, his own weight, you know. So today, as Prime Minister Modi ji acknowledged and apologized to Lord Ram while speaking, he expressed his regret, you know, that it took us so long to restore your rightful place.
Right.
And while saying this, he became emotional also. So this is the truth. I've been talking about how our Lord Ram has witnessed the longest wait, spending years in a tent. So I would like to congratulate Prime Minister Modi ji also. It is his visionary leadership and relentless dedication, I would say, that have been instrumental in overcoming challenges and navigating the complexities associated with the construction of the Ram Mandir, as we all know.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sadhvi ji. 14 years versus 500 years, a wait of 500 years. Kartikeya, you heard the speech. Now, very interestingly, the Prime Minister spoke of Mata Shabri, Nishad Raj, Hanuman, of course. You're a keen political watcher. Is this another version of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas? Is there an underlying political messaging of the Prime Minister's speech today?
You know, there are a couple of them, you know, and the one which really caught my eye was on the Supreme Court. You know, though he said a lot of things.
He's commended the Supreme Court.
He's commented on Supreme Court, and you know, I don't think there could have been a stronger statement than that, because Prime Minister has said संविधान के अस्तित्व में आने के बाद भी दशकों तक प्रभु श्री राम के अस्तित्व को लेकर कानूनी लड़ाई चली. But the line is, मैं आभार व्यक्त करूंगा भारत की न्यायपालिका का जिसने न्याय की लाज रखी.
Right.
न्याय के पर्याय प्रभु राम का मंदिर भी न्यायबद्ध तरीके से ही बना.
My God, this is the Congress's poll plank.
So basically he said that न्याय की लाज रखी,
Right.
which means that, you know, at least you understood the aspiration of a billion strong country.
Yes.
There were people in parties and organization, quote unquote, who did not understand that.
Right.
So that is one takeaway. Another takeaway was of Mohan Bhagwat, when he said, you know, I have to end up, you know, I end up saying hard things, you know, tough things.
Yes.
Basically he's saying that, well, you know, if we want to be a sort of a big powerful country,
Yeah.
strong economy, then we need to reconcile our differences. Because
Right.
there is a feeling within Bharatiya Janata Party
Yes.
and RSS also that this is a great achievement.
Yes.
But previous elections were not won on Ram Mandir. The
Right.
first election was won on the issue of governance,
Yes.
anti-corruption. The second election was won on the issue of nationalism.
And delivery of
and the
services.
delivery,
Yes.
you know, Labharti.
Of course.
So they understand what they have achieved.
Yes.
What they require with it is, and it's a message to their workers,
Right.
is namrata.
Right. Right.
Namrata. So I think that's the subtext of it. You know,
Right.
I think they don't want everyone to go gung-ho about it,
Yeah.
because the achievement is so it's huge. Imagine from 49, when there was a difference between personal belief and public expression. You know,
Yes.
Nehruvian discourse of governance.
Right.
Today, the private and the public merged.
Yes.
Private and the public merge. It's a significant shift.
Absolutely.
I am not saying that this is a representation or reflection of Prime Minister's spiritual religious belief. I think corporally, I think there is a shift in the way we see and define our nationhood.
Absolutely. I'm going to come back to you on that, Kartikeya. Very important point that you've raised, and I have another question related to that. But first, Neena, I want to ask you, as a Sanskrit scholar, the Prime Minister said this, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha. Among the many messages that he's mentioned in his speech, he spoke of this unwavering faith in Indian culture as being this all-inclusive culture. Tell us the significance of this one line and the biggest message that came out of the Prime Minister's speech.
Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina means may everything, everybody be happy.
Right.
That which exists, may it be happy. This is already spoken in our scriptures.
Right.
Unless everything is happy. So whenever we wish, please understand this, in spirituality and esoteric wisdom, whenever we wish good for somebody,
Yes.
we are nothing but conduits for that good to come through us as
Right,
well.
right.
So this is a blessing, and in giving this blessing, we also bless ourselves,
Right.
because that good comes through us. Also, Modi ji apologized for having the Ram Mandir, building that Ram Mandir
Yes.
very late. See, we've already waited for 500 years. Modi ji was in the Rath Yatra with Advani ji
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
So while in the media circles, while in other circles, there's this thing that, you know, the Ram Mandir, it wasn't an issue. Let me tell you, I used to live in Dubai, and I left that country, came to India so that I could participate and make him win the elections.
Right.
The Karyakarta,
Yeah.
you know, there's this huge thing in other parties, they think Karyakartas are nobody.
Right.
But Karyakartas are very important in the Sangh Parivar,
Yes.
in the BJP, and sometimes the Karyakarta decides the fate of the leader.
Right.
If the Karyakarta goes against you, you cannot do anything,
Right.
right? In the manifesto of BJP,
Yeah.
Ram Mandir was there.
Yes.
And if you spoke to the Karyakarta, amongst the Karyakartas, I will tell you that was one of the most important things that they wanted.
Yes.
What they project, what they say is another story.
Yeah.
And then if you remember clearly, at the end of the second tenure,
Right.
this had been postponed further.
Yes.
The Ram Mandir judgment has been postponed further.
Yes.
So we see that delay from the time that he was in the Rath Yatra
Of 5,
to even
yes,
now,
right.
it's been many, many years.
So in a sense, he was also apologizing for that delay in taking up that issue of the temple. But Sadhviji, this question is that the invoking of Ram as a sacred civilizational symbol of Indian culture, is this the closest that we are coming to, say, a Ram Rajya? Based on all the right principles that have been mentioned, this a figure who embodies honor, sacrifice, courage, justice, duty, making that person the cornerstone of your outreach. Is this the beginning of the kind of Ram Raj that we have been talking about, a all-inclusive Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha kind of Ram Raj? Do you see this as the beginning of that day?
Sandeep, when you talk about Lord Ram and Ram Mandir, I'd like to say, see, this Navya, Divya and Bhavya Ram Mandir
Yes.
is truly a spectacle that surpasses imagination. We never imagined, that
Yes.
we would be able to actually witness this historic event in our lifetime.
Right.
And I remember the times when the slogans were raised, Saugand Ram ki khate hain, mandir wahi banayenge.
Yes.
And the opposition used to mock by saying, mandir wahi banayenge, tarikh nahi batayenge.
Right.
And today is the day, 22nd January 2024. That
Right.
long-awaited day has finally arrived.
Yes.
So it would not be an exaggeration to claim that in the age of Kal Yug, we're catching a glimpse of Ram Yug.
Yes.
That's what you asked. So I would
Right.
say, I would like to also mention Yogi Adityanath ji here.
Yeah.
Yogi Adityanath ji, he said in his speech that in Ayodhya, instead of bullets, lamps will now be kindled. Such a strong statement, such a strong and positive message across the country. So in every corner of this vast and diverse land, people unite in joyous celebration, transcending differences and embracing a shared spiritual fervor. It is a day where the essence of Sanatan Dharma permeates through the fabric of our existence, forging connections beyond the physical realm. It is a day to celebrate.
It's a day to celebrate indeed, and it's another Diwali, as my panelists were mentioning. Kartikeya, on your earlier point, the fact that Prime Minister Nehru, when he inaugurated the Bhakra Nangal Dam, he called it the temple of modern India, implying that temples, industries, factories were going to be the new progressive India, leaving the past behind. Now, Prime Minister Modi, a few days back, inaugurated the longest sea bridge, right, which is going to transform Mumbai and indeed Western India. And today he inaugurated the temple. Probably the first Prime Minister to openly come out for a temple inauguration like this. Do you see this as a rise of a India that's more confident with its past and allowing it to coexist with the future?
There are three strands here. If you look at our history, post 1857, the earlier writers like Aurobindo, Vivekanand, if you go through Anand Math or Gokhale or Tilak, they derive inspiration, and they use the word Hindutva, Hindu, and they derive inspiration from the homeland, which is sacred in nature.
Yes.
I'm not getting into Punyu Bhumi and Pitru Bhumi, that is a different thing, but it is sacred in nature. Now, that is one part of it, and this sacred homeland or revered homeland is common to both two atheists, Savarkar and Jawaharlal Nehru, but it takes a different turn. Nehru was more invested in science, and he was more invested in Western modernity.
Yeah.
Now, Savarkar was also rooted in Western modernity, but his idea of nationhood or the foundation of it was based on a sense of Bharatvarsh.
Right.
It's like when Gandhi met Savarkar for the first time.
Yes.
Savarkar was blanching prawns,
Right.
So Gandhi had a huge problem. One. The second strand of that answer is on the Ram Raj. You use the word. Gandhi's Ram Raj was slightly benign. And Gandhi had this, if I may use the word, obsession with Hindu-Muslim unity. Starting from Khilafat, even his response to Mopla.
Right.
These are all written records, these are not oral histories, written record. He had this obsession, so the concession would go. Or even during when Noha Khalivate happened, it created a lot of outrage, but then Gandhi had this thing. And Gandhi never visited temple.
Yeah.
His Ram Raj was there, but he never visited temple. When we come down to this line of cultural assertiveness, this is more in line of Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, Tilak, Gokhale, Sardar Patel, Govind Vallabh Pant. A part of it went to the Congress, which is, it is okay to assert your cultural Hindu identity.
Right.
It is okay to celebrate that in public.
Yes.
It is okay to be a devout, doesn't mean that you are a rowdy or you are a conservative or you belong to bygone era.
Yes.
It is okay to say that you worship this god, deity.
Right.
You will never find Gandhi in front of a deity.
Yeah.
Never. But Prime Minister Modi, you'll find his lot of pictures in front of temple. So we have to understand what Prime Minister has done is not a discontinuity.
Yeah.
It starts from Anand Math.
Right.
It is a continuous process. It is just that line of people involved in Reformation during the British time were more involved in the internal issue, caste discrimination, or the Child Marriage Act. For example, the Sarda Act.
Right.
Most of them were, you would say that they are right-wing Hindus, but they were more informed or more concerned about the reform side of things.
Yes.
So what the Prime Minister has done is by publicly acknowledge it. Some would say, like Indol Singh Gupta, that it's a second republic.
Yeah.
But I would say that culturally, through democratic means, displaced the consensus of the First Republic.
Right.
Technically, the people, the way they imagine themselves in the Benedict Anderson's book,
Right.
The Imagined Community,
Yeah.
we have started to reimagine this country in a different way, which has more cultural connect with its past.
Very interesting points there, Kartikeya.
Young
Neena?
country,
Yeah.
old nation.
Young country, old nation. In fact, this is the thing, and the Prime Minister seems to have, said that we are actually a continuation of the past. And India was not born in 1947.
Yes.
India as a political entity may have been
Correct.
born in 47, but we are a 5,000 years civilization.
8,000 years now
Well,
by records.
8,000, it's going back.
Archaeological records.
Absolutely. Archaeology is, unearths amazing surprises all the time. And, that point that you mentioned over there, Rakhi Gadi, that's a separate discussion. But this point of the Prime Minister, that making it a civilizational continuum, how important is that in the light of the ceremony today?
It is extremely important, and I'll tell you why. A lot of people think that modernity is disconnected from
Yes.
cultural identity.
Right.
So in order to be progressive, you cannot have your cultural identity with you.
Yes.
Whereas in the Hindu culture, both of them go hand in hand. People talk of Ram Rajya.
Yeah.
So I hope that is clear.
Yes.
We can go hand in hand. Even ancient Ayodhya used to have the latest weapons, the most modern weapons. It was extremely well planned. It
Yeah.
was expanded when it needed to. It had the security and the defense system. We were
Yes.
discussing it. So all of that was there. It was not against modernity.
Right.
It was not against upgradation.
Right.
Today, we feel that if we upgrade, we are going to discontinue from a culture. This is
Yes.
very wrong.
Absolutely.
And people only yap about Ram Rajya.
Yeah.
They have no idea about what Ram Rajya exactly is.
Right.
Ram Rajya is the same as Dashrath Rajya. Ram Rajya is the same as Ikshvaku Rajya. Ram Rajya is the same as Raghu Rajya.
Right.
What were the three basic points of these valiant kings? That is why they were able to hold the chair, hold their Singhasan in
Right.
Ayodhya and rule the world through them. The first was Param Dharmatma.
Right.
Param Dharmatma, the devout Hindus, upholders of Dharma. Which Dharma? Sanatan Dharam. Ram is a Sanatani.
Yes.
Raghu is a Sanatani. Dashrath is a Sanatani, right? There is no secularism which makes you feel ashamed of being Hindu.
Right,
He is the
right.
upholder of Dharma and Nyaya. The
Yes.
second thing, Veer, brave.
Yeah.
You are trained, you're mentally strong, at least mental and physical strength, which our country also needs to show. Because
Right.
unless there is strength, there
Yeah.
is no respect. Unless you have strength, you cannot, till the time you have the power to do hinsa, you
Right.
cannot claim ahimsa.
Yes.
A weak man cannot say, I am ahimsak. No,
Right.
you are not ahimsak. You're weak. You can be killed tomorrow. The only people who have the right to claim that I am ahimsak are the ones who have the capacity for hinsa. The third thing, satyavadi, which means that whatever they say is etched in stone.
Right.
If they say this is going to happen, they make it happen. This is the reason why even Ram Bhagwan went for 14 years of Vanvas
Right.
and did not come back on
Because he-
repeated requests. Otherwise, his father would have been a liar.
Absolutely.
So this is the thing. This is what Ram Rajya is all about.
Right.
And let me just end this by saying, things are impossible till the time they are done by somebody, and
Right.
then they become possible. So
Possible.
Modi is one man who did it. And like they say, झुकती है दुनिया,
Right.
झुकाने वाला चाहिए.
Bilkul. And Sadhvi ji, Modi's mission possible is what Neena ji just mentioned. We were talking about civilizational continuity. The fact that Ram Rajya actually doesn't, mean a break from the past. It means a continuum, right? You're a young nation, as Kartikeya mentioned, but with an ancient past. How do you see Ram Rajya playing out in the context
Young
of
country and an old nation.
young country and old nation? I stand corrected. A young country and an old nation, an ancient civilization, 5,000, 8,000 years. How do you see this playing out in the years ahead? Now, the Prime Minister has mentioned that this is the start of a 1,000-year epoch. Explain for us why it's a continuum and it's not going back to the past. It's a looking ahead kind of thing, more about looking on the road ahead rather than looking in the rearview mirror.
Okay, see, Sandeep, if we talk about the temples, right? Right now we're talking about the Ram Mandir, and if we talk about the strong Indian value system, see, when the invaders, they attacked our country, why they attacked places like Ayodhya, Kashi and Mathura? Were they business centers? Were they military centers? Were they tourist spots at that time? No. But why they attacked? Because they knew that they hold utmost importance to
Yeah.
us. temples are the centers of collective faith.
Yes.
They're very important. They're the centers of education integration,
Yeah.
spiritual integration, and cultural integration. That is why they attacked. So that means they knew the importance of temple. So that is destroying the temple, meaning destroying our national pride.
Right.
So that is why it is very important to restore it. And as we are able to do that by the efforts of and unwavering dedication of Prime Minister and Yogi ji, so I would say कि ये बहुत ज़्यादा important है कि हम ये चीज़ समझें कि हम कहाँ जा रहे हैं, और ये जो हम अपनी पास्ट कल्चर को, या पास्ट तो नहीं कहना चाहिए बट ये कह सकते हैं कि रिच कल्चर को हम रीगेन कर रहे हैं. सो दिस विल लीव एन इम्पैक्ट on especially the mindsets of the youth, because when Prime Minister visits the temples, they carry profound messages.
Yes.
Especially for the younger generation, I would say. See, in the past 10 days, we've seen Prime Minister visiting a lot of temples related to Ram Mandir and sending across a message. So what's the message that youth can take from this? It is like, I would say, Prime Minister inspires the youth by showcasing the harmonious coexistence of modernity and tradition. It sends a message that one can embrace technological advancements and contemporary ideas while staying rooted in timeless cultural and spiritual values. This is very important.
Absolutely.
And also,
when we talk about modernity, there are two issues here. One is that the previous governments were only invested in medieval late modernities. The investment went to Bhopal, it went to Old Delhi. Even if you look at the architecture, which is Rajputana architecture, it incorporates Mughal forms. The distinct Hindu-ness in Rajputana is not visible because things changed in the last 1,000 years. The last of such architecture was Vijayanagar. The remnant of something can be seen in Jagannath Puri or Kashi, which is being done, or Ayodhya being redone. You see, what happened during colonial time was that what Indians encountered in forms of modern or the Western modernity in form of a Western form, it became alien. That is why Gandhi keeps on saying, our true India lives in rural areas. No, it is because you only encountered that urbanized space in form of a Western model. But India had its urban spaces, Rakhigarhi, Harappa, Ayodhya, Magad. The last was in medieval India, Vijayanagar. Those spaces became culturally and spiritually empty. There were very few lived forms. Others were contested like Mathura and Kashi. Some were erased like Ayodhya. So what Modi has done is he's trying to resurrect these older ancient urban sacred spaces, because most of these temples were not made in rural India. Most of these divine temples were in the heart of urban centers. So that is where when Prime Minister says, "Mandiron ka जीर्णोद्धार," सिर्फ मंदिरों का जीर्णोद्धार नहीं हो रहा है, जीर्णोद्धार उस spiritual cultural space का हो रहा है, which stood forgotten, because history is about memories. Memories reshape your history.
Absolutely.
It's a two-way process.
Yeah, and Kartikeya, that's a related question to that is that as Sadhvi ji was mentioning, that the Prime Minister has been touring the country, various temples, north, south, everywhere, and the Ayodhya movement began as a religious movement. It then became a political movement, and now it seems to be a national movement. Especially in the light of the Prime Minister's speech.
I would say that Ayodhya had many andolans in last 500 years. Sikhs were involved, vagabonds were involved, the sadhus were involved, akhadas were involved. But I think two people played a distinct role in it, and we must take their name. Bala Saheb Devras, the Sarsanga Chalak. I would say that he can be credited for one fact, that if he wouldn't have been there, RSS would have become a cult. For example, no hero worship, retirement, Prachar Vibhag, work against caste, asking VHP to adopt this. And it is in his tenure that Atal Bihari Vajpayee was, during his lifetime, could become the Prime Minister for 13 days. So the second person was Ashok Singhal. They actually laid the foundation of it, because they realized even then in 83, and if you read those books associated with Ashok Singhal, they knew it is not a temple. It is about the national identity. Even then they could have made temple anywhere, but it was about national identity, and it was about reclaiming it. That if people believe that the Ram was born there, then the matter ends there. Because that is why when they said it's a title suite, it was argued it's a matter of faith.
Right, absolutely.
That is why he said, na, न्याय की लाज रखी.
Very, very important point there. And Modi's mission possible is actually more than just about a temple. It's, as Kartikeya said, it's about the reclaiming of a national identity. And that is one reason why the 22nd of January 2024 is going to live through history. I'd like to thank Sadhvi ji for joining us this evening. Thank you very much for your insights, Sadhvi ji. Kartikeya and Neena will continue with me on the next segment. Thank you. In Hinduism, artha, that's material wealth, has always been part of the 4 purusharthas or goals of human life. One of them is dharma, that's righteousness and moral values. Now the Ram temple is the embodiment of dharma meeting artha. Now, over $10 billion worth of investments in infrastructure projects, new airports, improved roads. Ayodhya is set to welcome between 50 to 100 million visitors annually, says a recent report. How will the spin-off of Ram-nomics help the Indian economy? Joining me to discuss this is economist Sharad Kohli and my co-panelists Neena and Kartikeya. Sharad, welcome to the News9 Plus Show.
Thank you so much. Pleasure connecting with you.
Yes, I want to start by asking you, Sharad, how will Ayodhya spur the revival of India's tourism sector, particularly religious tourism?
Well, if I was to put your question in past tense, it has already done that. In fact, if you see the number of people who came today, if we take 22nd of January,
yes,
you had about 8,000 guests, and there was no place to park the jets. They had to be parked all over the place in the nearby states. You had private jets. Obviously, today was about VIPs and those celebrities and special invitees and so on and so forth. But I think there are crores of people who are waiting to visit. So I think, as you rightly said, 100 million visitors, and when you talk of 100 million visitors, you can talk the impact on the economy. It can do wonders to not just the Ayodhya economy. Ayodhya is a small town, but the nearby towns. Say, for example, Lucknow, then the whole state of Uttar Pradesh, and then the whole country by itself. I mean, I won't be surprised that a lot of people from abroad, especially the diaspora, the Indian diaspora, and I spoke to some of them last night. They said, one of them was saying, I haven't been to India for the last 15 years, but now I have to come because of Ayodhya. And obviously, when one is going to come to Ayodhya, he's going to travel around the country, not just Ayodhya. So I think it's going to do wonders to the economy. And as far as Ayodhya itself is concerned, there are about 50 big hotel chains that I know who have already put their hotels on the plan. I think some of them already in the construction stage, some are on the planning stage, and they're going to come up in the next couple of years. You're going to see a lot of hotels there. So far as I know, there are about 152 hotels already in Ayodhya. And to the best of my information, another 153 dharamshalas are there. This is notwithstanding the 400 odd homestays which are already functional in Ayodhya. So I think these numbers are going to swell. And a classic example is declaration of a township by one of the, I'm not sure if I should be naming the developer here because we don't want to give them free advertisement. But there is a very renowned developer who's announced a township where some of the celebrities have gone on to bought plots. So, each rupee, in the laws of economics, each rupee added in the infrastructure, or for a simple road, there's Ram Path. There are so many roads, new roads, which we've been witnessing in the media. People who didn't go, who've been watching this on various platforms of media. Each rupee has got a 8 to 10 times multiplier effect. The road constructed can really, really boost the economy around the place. The restaurants come up, the eating joints come up, construction happens, shopping malls come up, shopping areas come up. People start living there, schools open up, hospitals open up, clinics open up. I think tremendous employment opportunities which are generated. So, there is a confederation called Confederation of All India Traders, CAIT, which had given an estimate of 50,000 crores booster dose to the economy because of this. But my own estimate says this could easily cross 100,000 crore rupees.
Well,
I mean, just
Sharad,
in Delhi.
the CAIT revised its estimates to double it. They're saying it's a lakh crore.
Prime Minister, Prime Minister has already married it to his Labharthi politics. Because generally, this Bretton Woods institutions, when they would argue that the public investments crowd out the private investments. PM had turned it on its head during COVID. He used the public investment to spur the private sector. The second part is we just need to see what has happened in Kashi. Look at the trade, look at the planes, number of planes they land, look at the number of tourists that go. And secondly, we have to understand when we talk about religious tourism, it has to be seen from a pilgrim's eye. Sanitation, cleanliness, ability to eat, clean rooms, to organize yourself. Imagine yourself 20 years ago going to Kashi Vishwanath temple was hell, It was, I had been there, it was really problematic. Today, I can go there as a tourist. Next day, I can go there as a devotee. Third day, I can just be like a civilian and sit there and pass my time in front of Ganga. So, it's the multiple level of experience that Kashi built. I think it will be replicated to a grander scale when it comes to Ayodhya. But you see what Prime Minister has done? He has married it to his Labharti politics. And what has he said? सूर्यवंशी भगवान श्री राम के आलोक से विश्व के सभी भक्तगण सदैव ऊर्जा प्राप्त करते हैं। आज अयोध्या के प्राण प्रतिष्ठा के शुभ अवसर पर मेरा ये संकल्प और प्रशस्त हुआ है कि भारतवासियों के घर की छत पर उनका अपना सोलर रूफ टॉप सिस्टम हो। अयोध्या से लौटने के बाद मैंने पहला निर्णय किया है कि हमारी सरकार 1 करोड़ घरों पर रूफ टॉप सोलर लगाने के लक्ष्य के साथ प्रधानमंत्री सूर्योदय योजना प्रारंभ करेगी। You can't beat this man.
No, he is number of messages.
Just can't beat him.
I think we'll spend all week and all of this year decoding all the multiple messages in that one speech that he gave today, especially on when it comes to Ram-nomics. But Neena, you've been a big votary of pilgrimage tourism, as you like to call it. How will this, as Kartikeya mentioned, Varanasi is, the numbers are zooming. It's 7 crore tourists in 2022, Goa with just 85 lakh. How does Ayodhya become the model for new temple towns, pilgrimage centers?
So the reason I call it pilgrimage, or if you want to add the word tourism, it's up to you. But a lot of devotees go there. The first desire of a person who goes there, the person who desires is a devotee. Everybody who goes there is crying today, is happy, they're tweeting their pictures. You see why? Because they are devotees who go there. Now Ayodhya is still a very small place. When we claim tourism, that means that it's open and free for all and everybody comes. Not everybody who comes there is a devotee. So the devotees feel very offended. Therefore, we should rightly sort of give them the due. It is pilgrimage. If you want to add tourism, that's another thing. So this is one thing. And whatever figures that you are coming up with, let me tell you, if the Modi and the Yogi government can handle the infrastructure well, the figures that you have estimated, it will be beaten. For the simple reason, forget the economics. If I talk of spirituality, wherever there is Narayan, Shri is always with him. Lakshmi is always with him. So wherever he will go, Shri is going to follow him. That which can sustain, Lakshmi will come to him. So we have that part of it as well. And so in Hinduism, wealth and spirituality are not separate from each other. They are together. In fact, there is a very beautiful shlok in the Hitopdesh, and Hitopdesh is written thousands of years ago.
Please tell us.
So Hitopdesh tells Hindus or anybody who reads it, it says that this is how you should lead your life. You should do the work of dharma as if Yamraj or death itself has held you by your shikha. So it's caught you by its shikha, you can die any second. So you do the dharma ka karya as if death is imminent. And when it comes to education and earth, earning wealth and education, learn education as if you will never grow old. You will never die and you will never grow old and earn wealth. So you do all of this as if you will live forever and you will never grow old.
But the important takeaway in that first part is the timelines. It's important to maintain timelines, especially when it comes to creating infrastructure, Sharad. And that's one thing that we've been lagging in, the creating of infrastructure. And in Ayodhya, I think we've seen a lot of infrastructure being rolled out in record time, in like 3 or 4 years. What more does the government really need to do to make religious centers accessible to people? Because figures are there. It says 60% of Indian tourism is primarily religious tourism.
Well, the answer lies in your question itself. If 22nd January was the date fixed for consecration, I think there was a timeline there, and they were running from pillar to post to make sure that most of it is ready, if not all of it is ready. So the best way to answer your question is to set another timeline. Maybe by next Ram-nomics, have a target. Then by the next Ram-nomics, have another target. By Deepavali, have another target. I think we in India, we are used to working under pressure.
Yeah.
We like to meet timelines, deadlines, but when there is no timeline and deadline, sometimes you're right. The pace of infrastructure development runs slow. There's no doubt about that.
Right.
But I think as far as Ayodhya is concerned, it's going to remain a focal point for a very long time. So I really don't think that slow pace syndrome is going to catch up to Ayodhya. Ayodhya will continue because the funds have been allocated, the funds have been dedicated. I mean, so far as I know, 126 new projects have been signed off already, and they're just waiting. Most of them were waiting for this day to be over because it could have created more chaos if a new project is launched while there is so much of movement around the city in such a tiny little place. So I think these 126 odd projects are going to catch up pace starting tomorrow. That's my first take. Then also, Ayodhya has a population of about 3.5 odd lakhs. Yeah. And it has caught up to about 5 lakhs already. So more and more people want to move to Ayodhya. I've seen this happening in, a classic example is Vrindavan, which is very near to Mathura. It's about 10 kilometers from Mathura. And the number of people who moved their dwelling in Vrindavan ever since, this Vrindavan corridor was declared, although it's going through some court processes, and there are some clearances which are being waited. There is some local protest also, because you have to break certain part of Vrindavan to make sure that corridor comes up. Right. But in anticipation, people have already moved in. So this is another phenomena that the moment the place becomes more organized, more updated in terms of infrastructure, more and more people move in. So with more people moving in, that's an automatic boost to Ram-nomics or Ayodhya-nomics, whatever you want to call it. It just boosts naturally. You've got more people living in there. So I think Ayodhya is an exception to the slow pace. I say that Ayodhya will be bitten by the Gati Shakti. But for rest of the country, I agree there is a need to catch pace. But there are limitations of resources. There are limitations of bureaucracy. There are various other limitations which have been plaguing our country for a very long time, which will take a while to go, altogether.
Right. It will take a while to go, but Kartikeya, very interesting, the point that 4 of these centers are now in Uttar Pradesh, and Uttar Pradesh has also got Kashi, Mathura, Vrindavan, and now Ayodhya. It's got the largest number of expressways that are in construction. You think that the $1 trillion economy target that Uttar Pradesh has set could actually be met to a greater extent by these
I think religious tourism can contribute a lot. I understand why Prime Minister says so. Sandeep, it's easier to go to Jaffna, to go to Kandy, to Hanbandota, than have a vacation in Jaisalmer in winters. It's so expensive.
It's all interconnected.
It's so interconnected. You ask me going to Goa in winters or to go to some place in Laos. I'll go to Laos. It's cheaper. But you see, when it comes to matter of faith, Kedarnath is not going to be in Cambodia.
Right.
So, if the experience can be nice, or for like Prime Minister 2019, what did he do? He went to Kedarnath.
Yes.
He made that cave. Now, there is a booking of that cave for, and it runs for 6 months, 5 months. So, I think he's investing a bit of himself in every religious site.
It's brand Modi. I had that thing, Neena, a couple of days back.
If you can organize religious, at least in Hindu context, if you can make it women friendly, women safe, child friendly, food friendly, sanitation friendly, bathrooms, and make it an experience, because there is also one more thing. In Sanatan Dharma, you can have your prayer or your puja, and then you can also be a yatri.
Yes.
आप एक devotee भी हो सकते हैं, और कहने के मतलब आप एक भक्त भी हो सकते हैं और यात्री भी हो सकते हैं. It depends. पूजा अकेले की और यात्रा परिवार के साथ की. So it will spur a different sort of economy.
Right.
It's like street foods of Indore, pure vegetarian.
And the yatri in this case is Prime Minister Modi.
So if it is family safe, women safe, children friendly, I think then you will be able to save your foreign reserves.
Forex reserves, absolutely. And we were just talking about this recently, Kartikeya, on the fact that how when Prime Minister Modi was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, he needed Amitabh Bachchan to come and sell Gujarat tourism. Correct. And today he's the biggest brand in the country. There's no doubting that. Whatever he does, everyone follows.
Let me put it this way, even at the cost of sounding brash, there was a time when all the people who were sitting way beyond the reach of the cameras.
Today.
Yes. he would require them on the dais
Yeah.
when he launched the Gujarat,
Right.
that
Of
summit.
course.
All of them were on the dais.
Right.
And and he had to organize it that
Right.
way because
A
he
lot
was
of water has
he was
flowed
showcasing
down the
Grand
Saryu
Gujarat.
since then.
Today,
Yeah.
all of them were sitting there.
Right.
And he was the only one
Yes.
on the dais.
So Brian Modi
So
has
life has
arrived.
come a full circle.
Life has come a full circle. But this point about the Prime Minister going and pushing Indian tourism, getting Indian tourists to visit Indian shrines, Indian beaches and all that. How does all this, mesh into this thing of pilgrimages and all that, which
Well, he's doing
been
the right
pushing.
thing. He's setting himself as an example
Right.
why to go abroad, and he's gone ahead and said those things. Do not go to Thailand for weddings. Come
Yes.
to Uttarakhand for
Yeah.
weddings. So what he's doing is he's inspiring Indians
Right.
to be in India
Yeah.
and to experience India and to
Right.
do pilgrimage or tourism in India.
Right.
And like you rightly said, that whenever we go somewhere, we are yatris. So
Yes.
if wherever you go to Banaras, they'll say, "Arey, did you have that tomato wali chaat which is in this shop?"
Yeah.
Right? Did you have this lassi at this ghat? Whether you go to Vrindavan, so in Vrindavan they say right after you get out of this temple, you must eat this food.
Right.
You must go to this cave. You must go here. You must go to this temple. So, so that economy, that food, people who are fond of food,
Right,
people who
right.
are fond of traveling, people who are fond of nature, their gardens, there are so many beautiful things. There is so much beauty in our country.
Right.
We underestimate it, and we also have not planned it.
Yes.
Why? Because Indian leaders lacked a vision.
Yeah.
Now we have a man who has a vision.
Right.
He is a man with a purpose. Any man with a vision, any man with a purpose becomes a hero.
Yes.
We underestimate this. See, why is football so popular? You have a goal, right?
Yeah.
And everybody will support that man who goes there. So men who have this ability to inspire others with their vision, others with their leadership abilities, they will become mass magnets. They will inspire people. Like you see the Lakshadweep
Yes,
thing.
yes,
You saw, imagine,
Right.
he's shaken up a whole country
He
just
has.
because he took a walk in Lakshadweep and he said we
Right.
should come here.
So, in fact, Sharad, this point about Prime Minister Modi leveraging brand Modi to promote tourism, religious tourism, spiritual tourism, visit India locally. What are the next steps that really need to be taken apart from the projects? Is there anything else that's really lacking, that's holding us back? We've done these stories about how it's so difficult to get to Lakshadweep, as Kartikeya mentioned. It's easier to fly into Phuket than it is to go to Lakshadweep. What more needs to be done?
Well, I think in one word, it's infrastructure.
Yeah.
I think that's what when you travel abroad, what is the first thing you like apart from the weather and so,
Right.
the food and so
Right.
and so forth? I think it's the infrastructure. We all have traveled abroad. The moment you
Yeah.
land in Europe, we said, wow. And the very first sentence which every Indian family I've seen speaking is, why can't we have this in our country? What's the
Right.
big deal? Why can't this cleanliness be in our country?
Correct.
Why can't we have toilets in our
Yes.
country? Why can't we have basic tourist facilities in our country the way it is in Switzerland or the way it is in any other place?
Right.
Now, I think infrastructure is the magic word. And then a very important point here.
Right.
We all talk of infrastructure, and I just spoke of infrastructure. But what we forget is there has been infrastructure upgradation on a lot of sites. But we Indians, this includes me as well,
Yes.
we Indians fail to maintain it. I
Right.
think the government can gift us an infrastructure, but it is the duty of every citizen to maintain that infrastructure.
Absolutely.
If you spit on the walls, if you desecrate the walls, if you vandalize the signages and write Pappu weds Lalita, so and so with a heart and an arrow, I
Yeah.
think this is ruining the infrastructure. So I think infrastructure has to be backed by civil mannerism.
Absolutely.
That is what is missing. I think the people of the country have an equal responsibility. If we can
Yeah.
ask something from the government, once the government gives, it's
Yeah.
our duty to maintain it.
Absolutely. Thank
which
you.
I find
Sharad, I'm
unfortunate.
afraid we're completely out of time. Thank you very much for your insights. Infrastructure matters, but it really matters to maintain that infrastructure, and that calls
Absolutely.
for civic responsibilities. That's
Civics.
what all of us can do. Thank you very much for your insights, Sharad, Kartikeya, and Neena, for joining us this evening. You can, of course, download the News9 Plus app and watch our story, Ram-nomics, on how the Ram temple became a money spinner for the Indian economy. One of the biggest friction points between India and China in the Indian Ocean has been the deployment of Chinese spy ships. Now, Beijing says that these ships are doing oceanographic research. India says they're actually spying on India. Last December, Sri Lanka said it would not allow any spy ships to enter its ports for a year. Well, the Chinese have now switched to their new best friend, the Maldives. And my colleague Nivriti Mohan here has more details. Nivriti, tell us what the latest is about these Chinese spy ships. Has another one come into the Indian Ocean?
Yes. As you can see a satellite map over here, satellite image over here. This satellite image comes from Damien Simon,
yes,
who is an amateur satellite tracker.
Yes.
And he, through this image, tracks the Chinese spy vessel.
Yes. Could you show us where that exactly that?
You can see the Chinese vessel right here.
So right now it's at the Sunda Straits.
Sunda
right.
Strait.
Yeah.
And around 2,000 nautical miles it will travel to Malé in Maldives, and it will take around 8 days to cover this distance.
Right.
Now the question is, why is this ship again here in the Indian Ocean region? Because earlier also we have seen so many spy vessels from China,
yes,
visiting the Indian Ocean region.
Right.
And the questions are being raised from India also.
Right, it's important. It's, thank you very much, Nivriti. It's important, it's signaling. And January 30th, that's the date that Nivriti mentioned, is the likely date that China will signal to India that it doesn't need Sri Lanka when it's got the Maldives as an Indian Ocean port of call. That 30th of Jan is the time that the Chinese spy ship is going to be calling into Malé. Thanks very much, Nivriti, for those insights on the Chinese spy ships. That's a story we'll be tracking. Thanks for watching.